Good morning, everyone. We'll get started with our ordinary council meeting for Wednesday, the 15th of May, 2024. Many of the councillors were joined this morning at the Relay for Life launch, which was a great breakfast, and our CEO Mark was there, so it was good to see so much support from council, and it was a full house there, and we had Choppy Close was the guest speaker, and the face of Relay is Jan Lambourne, so it was a wonderful morning as the launch of the Relay for Life, which is the big event is in October, so we're hoping to get a council team to participate in that event in October, so that would be wonderful. So just wanted to ask for a leave of absence and apologies. No, so we've got no leave of absence or apologies. So I'll now call on Pastor Lethan Fitzpatrick to come forward and offer some prayers for the council. Thank you.
Good morning, councillors. Lovely to be here this morning. I barely made it into your gated community. I saw the boom gates being put in here this morning, and I barely slipped straight underneath to get here. So just in the nick of time, hey. So good to be here this morning, and just want to thank you for allowing me to be here, and also congratulate all of you for your recent election wins. The community obviously sees you as fit to serve them and represent them, so congratulations from me. But I just wanted to read you a quick scripture this morning, if that's okay. This is one that encourages me in my leadership here in the community as well. And it says, "With man, things are impossible, but with God, all things are possible." I don't know if you've felt sometimes when you're looking at the balance sheet or the list of meetings that you've got to see for that day, or maybe you're just thinking about your community and you're thinking, wow, this is a really tremendously huge job with big challenges and things that need to get done. And you can sometimes get a little bit discouraged or maybe feel overwhelmed at the job that is before you. I know sometimes when I'm leading church communities, it can feel a little bit like that. There's so much to do, such a big job to fulfill. But I know that whenever I take into account that it's not just me who's leading, that it's God who's with me and empowering me through everything that I do, I can be encouraged in that. And so my encouragement for you to hear today is that you're not on your own. God's with you every step of the way. If you're in leadership, God's backing you, and hopefully this year you can get a little bit further through that list of things that you have to do with him than by your own. So let me just say a prayer for you this morning and just bless this chamber and bless your meeting that's ahead of you. Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for the chance that we all have to be here and representing our community. And we just pray for this meeting here today, that the spirit that's within here will be your spirit, Lord, that your hand will be upon this meeting. You will guide and you will direct and you will shape the decisions that are made for our community. May they be in the best interests of all of our citizens here in this beautiful place we call the South Burnett. May you be with each and every one of the councillors here this morning and also the extra staff. And I just pray that they'll remember in the weeks and months ahead that it's not just them who's leading, that you're with them every step of the way, that with man things are impossible, but with you all things are possible. We pray this in Jesus' mighty and precious name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Lethan. That was beautiful prayers for us this morning. I'd now like to call on Councillor Little to do the recognition of traditional owners.
I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Waka Waka people, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging.
Thank you, Councillor Little. So, declarations of interest. So do we have any declarations of interest?
I am a member of the Black Bunakin Lions Club, but I'm not on the executive.
So I'll just hand it over to CEO Mark.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor. Only the executive, it's a conflict, so we'll just note it for the minutes, and that's no conflict according to the regs.
Thank you. Any other declarations of interest? Okay, so we'll move on to deputations and petitions. So item 6.1. So we now have, I know we've got Jim Duff in the audience. So Jim Duff is we share a grandfather's, they're both brothers. So Jim's grandfather and my grandfather are brothers, and he's my 8th cousin. So So Jim is going to come and present the late Janet Skinner's books to the library, and I know we've got Danielle Mengel here to receive those. But I'd like to hand over to Deputy Mayor Danita Potter, who knows the story and is just going to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Duff. So Janet Skinner, she was born in England where she had her own label for theatrical costumes, and later when she moved to Australia, Janet certainly threw herself into the art scene, which included organising the largest paint by number, which actually at the time, about 25 years ago, ended up in the Guinness World Records. And to me, that is the greatest feat. There was over 10,000 people who actually did that within the Moreton Bay Shire. Yeah, so that's a fantastic, and it's still there today, so if ever you're down there, go and have a look at that one. I think it's, from memory, it's about 16 metres long, and she does have a smaller version that she actually did up for herself as well. She certainly had a passion for railways, and a lot of her work involved painting and researching railways for herself and for different books she has helped with over the years. So Janet had MS but still kept on painting, and even on her bad days, she was getting ideas of what to paint next. Janet Skinner was an incredible artist who loved using colour, and we were very lucky to have her live and work in our area. She loved the South Burnett and made Blackbutt her home with her partner Jim. So her partner Jim, and along with her two daughters Natalie and Nicola, are very happy to be able to donate some of Janet's books for our libraries, which will go throughout the South Burnett, and we truly hope they give delight, because that's what Janet would have loved. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Mayor Kathy Duff for putting a donation for some of the books to also help make this happen. So between Kathy and Jim and Natalie and Nicola, this has been able to make happen. So Mayor Duff, I will hand over to you.
Sorry. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Potter. It's it's wonderful to have Jim here representing the late Janet Skinner. Jim has also offered 50 or 60 paintings of Janet's to the Blackbutt Hall. So that's another wonderful donation to the Blackbutt Hall. Let's give Jim a round of applause. Yes. And I know Jim's been talking to the Blackbutt Hall Committee, and they're really excited about that, and they'll all fit around beautifully around the wall, and that will be a wonderful tribute to Jim's partner. So thank you. So now we're going to do the presentation. So we've got Danielle to receive the books, and I'm really looking forward to seeing a set of these in all of our 6 libraries. So would you like to come forward, Jim and Danielle, and we'll do the presentation of the books. So Councillor Hyde has the books, and we might get some photos. We'll just
Jim, you're allowed to smile. Okay? It's not compulsory, but it helps.
Thanks, Danielle, and thanks again, Jim, for that wonderful contribution to our libraries. I'm sure that young people are going to enjoy reading those books. It's a very wonderful donation, and also to the Blackbutt Hall. Thanks again. You're free to stay for morning tea if you like, but we won't have that until 10:30. Okay, so now we will move on to the deputation by NBN Local Regional Development and Engagement Manager Scott Rowe. So if you'd like to come up, Scott, that's item 6.2 on page 7.
Thank you very much, Mayor Duff, and good morning. Thanks. Can I also congratulate the new councillors and those re-elected back to the term, and thank you for the opportunity to present to you this morning, and to the CEO and the exec staff that are here as well. We'll get that presentation up, but as the Mayor said, my name's Scott Rowe and I'm the Regional Development and Engagement Manager for NBN Local. NBN Local is the Regional Development Engagement arm of the National Broadband Network, which this week celebrated its 15th birthday. So it's the longest continuous infrastructure project in Australian history. We all know the importance of connectivity and how much that means to our communities in this day and age. You can't deal with any levels of government these days unless you're online. Unfortunately, our bank branches are closing down, and so we can predominantly transact online now. So ensuring that our community is digitally literate is absolutely crucial. So from an NBN perspective, they invest in a regional development manager such as myself that works with the three levels of government, business and industry to ensure that our communities are getting the funding and the infrastructure for connectivity that we require. NBN also invests in lifting that digital literacy by employing a full-time and community engagement specialist. And Karen Shipp, who is based here in the Wide Bay Burnett surrounds, our territory extends from Gympie to Gladstone and all the local governments in between. So 8 local government areas from Gympie to Gladstone, out to the mines and in between. But Karen's full-time role is to come into community and help lift that digital literacy. So she'll come into community, work with vulnerable groups, work with the elderly, those that don't have high levels of digital literacy, and come in and do the 101s, how to change passwords, how to get online, how to transact and those sort of things, free of charge. So if you've got constituents out in your area that require that sort of work, please do get in touch with us. We'd love to come and do a series of digital literacy courses for you to help lift that digital literacy levels. Why is digital literacy important? If you have a look here, every 12 months a study is done which measures that digital literacy across communities. It's called the Australian Digital Inclusion Index. And as you'll see there, every single one of the local governments across the Wide Bay, Burnett and surrounds is below the state average. You'll see there South Burnett almost 7 points below. So like our socio-economic situation, our digital literacy levels are lower. So we need to do everything that we can as a council, as NBN and as a community to lift those digital literacy levels up. Otherwise our communities get left behind. There's 3 measures of that success in the ADII. That's access. So how do people have access to the internet and connectivity? How do they get on? Affordability, can they afford? What percentage of their wage does it cost for them to get on board and get that connectivity that they require? And also digital ability, as we've spoken about. If you're below those state and national averages, a lot of work needs to be done to lift that up. So that's how you access and what your ability once you're online, how you can transact and what you can do. So we need to do work as a community, which is why NBN invests in a community engagement specialist, but we do ask for the support of council to help lift that digital literacy and get involved in that process as well. Why is that important? If we have a look at the next slide, that's a 10-year comparison. So 10 years ago, the average household had 7 connected devices. As of today, that's 22. So when you think about it, mobile phones, tablets, TV, smart TV, CCTV, cameras, everything. And when you think about it individually about your home, you probably think there's no way in the world I could have 22 connected devices, but they add up fairly quickly when you've got a couple of kids or a few people in the house. And a lot more devices are going to continue to come online. Have a look at the average time used. 10 years ago, we were spending an hour and a half online a day. Due to the pandemic, people working from home, streaming services now, that's an average of more than 6 hours a day. Our consumption of data has continued to grow from 40 megabytes to 440, so tenfold in that period of time. And if you think about Netflix and Disney and Kayo and Binge and Stan and all the other streaming services, 10 years ago they didn't exist. And today they have more than 7 million subscribers. So that data is going to continue to double in growth, as you can see from that graph, in time. So it's really important that we can give our communities that connectivity that they need, the speeds that they need, the reliability that they need to be able to continue to keep in touch, access and grow. Just a quick technology understanding. So NBN has nothing at all to do with the mobile phone network. That's completely separate. We are your fixed service into your home or business. And that's delivered by 3 ways. By fixed line, which is fibre, and that can be delivered fibre directly to your premise, which is the fastest, most reliable way. So that's from the exchange, fibre delivered into your home or business. The second way is fibre to the curb. That's from the exchange, fibre is delivered to the curb, to the front of your street, and then the existing copper technology for your old home phones, that's carried your service into your business or home from that perspective. And then there's fibre to the node, which is fibre carried to one of those big green boxes, which can be 200, 300, 400 metres from your home or business, and then the existing copper technology delivers that service. There's also, for those outside of the populated areas, fixed wireless. So there's no lines involved there. That's a line of sight connection to a tower, and your internet is delivered that way. And then there's also satellite. So for those in remote areas, satellite technology, NBN has 2 geostationary satellites, which is an aerial on your roof, a satellite dish on your roof that talks to that satellite, which then talks to a ground station, which goes back up to that satellite and then back to your home. And there's upgrades occurring across the whole network as we speak. So satellite customers 5 years ago were paying for every bit of data that they used. Now there's numerous plans where satellite customers can get up to 100 megabytes per second down and unlimited data charges. Every fixed wireless tower in the country is being upgraded, including those across the South Burnett. So that's a $750 million upgrade, which includes new 4G, 5G technology, and will basically double that area of reach for a fixed wireless tower. So currently, if you've got a line of sight to a fixed wireless tower, you'll get a service for about 14 kilometres. That's about to double out to 29 as these upgrades are done. So those satellite customers in that periphery between 14 kilometres and 29 kilometres, if they've got a line of sight to a tower, will now have the option of going to fixed wireless. We're also about to launch high-speed tiers across the fixed wireless program, so there'll be plans available in coming months, which will rapidly increase the speeds available to fixed wireless customers and business customers as well. So that'll you can get up to 250 megabytes per second down. So I'm on fibre in Harvey Bay, I'm on fibre to the node connection at home, and I can only get 70 megabytes down and 20 up. So that's real advancements for fixed wireless and will make a big difference to rural and regional communities. And that's the commitment there. And we're very excited about launching those high-speed tier plans in coming months also. We have a look at the next slide, and I know that might be a bit hard to see for you, but you'll see the fixed wireless tower coverage across the South Burnett region there. So the region is well served by those towers. And of course, we have fibre in the main population centres. So Nanango, Kingaroy, Wondai, Mergen are all served by fibre, and then fixed wireless opportunities, and for those outside of those regions, a satellite opportunity. Thank you. Fibre Connect. So as I spoke earlier about the fibre options, what NBN and the federal government are trying to do is get rid of that last piece of copper, because that's what breeds the inconsistencies and the slower speeds in our network. What we're trying to do is replace that last bit of copper and get fibre to the premise to every business and home that's available. So there's a multi-billion-dollar program currently underway across the country, and including across the South Burnett, where there's fibre to the premise upgrades. So fibre to the node and fibre to the curb customers, if not now, there's many available now, but in coming months, we'll be able to get that fibre to the premise, whereby simply ordering a faster speed plan through their retail service provider, and there's 100 odd of them. NBN's the wholesaler, we don't sell anything, we're responsible for the infrastructure. They'll be able to ring up their retail service provider and order that fibre to the premise. And then what will happen is we'll come in and put what's called the final lead-in, which is the final, replace that copper with fibre, and that'll give you faster speeds, more reliability. Obviously during natural disasters will be a lot more reliable as well. So that work's currently underway, and you've probably seen through the streets and businesses of the region, delivery partners and NBN workforce out pulling that fibre ready to go. And it's as simple as finding out when your residence is available by jumping on our website and typing in your address. Thank you. That'll explain what the Fibre Connect program is, but that'll deliver speeds up to 1 gigabyte if required. So there's a lot of businesses already in town that are utilising those faster speeds and reliability of that fibre to the premise opportunity, and there'll be a lot more residents available to move on to that in coming months. Just to finish off, I also wanted to mention NBN's commitment to natural disasters and ensuring that the network has resilience during that period of time. Unfortunately, we are Queenslanders. Unfortunately, we are vulnerable to natural disasters, and unfortunately, over recent years, we have seen the impacts of those, even in these areas. NBN invests heavily in ensuring that we have network solutions and redundancy during those times of natural disasters, including things such as our satellite muster trucks, which can come into communities that have been cut off. And the Achilles heel for all telecommunications is obviously the power network. So if the power network goes down, we do have battery backup to our towers and to our exchanges. However, that only is for a period of time. So we do have emergency management solutions where we can bring these vehicles and equipment in to isolated or remote communities. That satellite kit there can be choppered in to a community, and that can provide first responders, emergency services, evacuation centres, and also communities a Wi-Fi service where they can connect, they can make phone calls through Wi-Fi calling, they can also email and phone their friends and relatives and let them know of their safety or their needs. And you'll see in the next slide just where they're positioned throughout the country. So obviously being a national network, we can move those assets. If, say we had a cyclone coming down the east coast of Queensland, we can redeploy those assets ready to go in the time or place. So happy to take any questions, but I just wanted to introduce NBN Local to back to the council and community today, and happy to work with you and your constituents at any time. Councillors, if you do get questions or queries, please pass them on to me or please get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to look after those individually for you. The first place is always the retail service provider for customers, but if you are having any connectivity issues, please do reach out. I'm more than happy to come into community and address community with you or look at those individual concerns. So once again, thank you for your time this morning. It is appreciated. Thank you, ma'am.
And any questions to Scott? No. So thank you. You're very much the face of NBN for us, and so really appreciate your passion and commitment to digital connectivity. And when I asked you the question about addressing our digital literacy, you've come here and offered Karen Ship as her mobile contact. So if anyone has got issues around getting some connectivity upgrades or understanding it better, we've got Karen and Scott, obviously. So thank you very much for coming and presenting and making sure that the South Burnett is competitive in that space. So thank you very much. So now, as is the new tradition with our new council team, I'm going to ask the councillors to all update the community with what they've been doing in the last month since the first council meeting that we had, and just go around the room and give every councillor a chance to talk about their division and also if they're on any particular committee. So I'll start with Deputy Mayor Danita Potter.
Thank you, Mayor Duff. First of all, can I just say a big thank you to everyone for this morning for the Relay for Life. On behalf of the Relay for Life Committee, we're really appreciative to have you all there and supporting such a worthwhile cause, because I think we all realise that there's probably not one person that we know that we haven't been touched by cancer somehow. So thank you very much for that. So first of all, with regards to some of the committees I'm on, one of them is the Local Level Alliance, otherwise known as the Stronger Families Alliance. Last meeting, we had a group called Connecting to You, which is part of the Children's Health Queensland. So, and this is actually something that's quite exciting that is out there for parents. So when parents, mums, dads, carers, they can sign up to get weekly texts about about your baby, and it's about keeping your baby safe, happy and healthy. And this is a great way for parents and caregivers to learn about the new baby, or anyone caring for a baby can sign up. So you'll get text messages until your child is 5, which includes reminders, tips and hints. That you get a lot more in that first year, and they do taper off as they turn, until they're 5. So, but that is a really great way that anyone can sign up for that. It's called Connecting to You, the number 2 with the letter U. So. And if they want to go that, they can check that out on the Queensland, on the website there. So the next one is the South Burnett Partnerships for Kids, because that sort of works in well with that one. So we are actually well on the way to organising the Under 8s Day, which will be held in Memorial Park from 9 to 12 midday on Thursday, the 27th of June. South Burnett Partnerships for Kids was first formed in 2017, purely because someone came and spoke to us at council, and as a council we decided that we were going to get involved with this. So it's all to do with the Australian Early Development Census data, and the AEDC is a nationwide census of early childhood development, and this captures children's transition from prep into their first year of school, and is conducted every 3 years. So this is a third year, so it will be conducted probably about May, June, I think it is, or May and June of this particular year. So when that is done, I'm looking forward to seeing the evidence. And the information gained from the census helps us as a community to help shape the future and wellbeing of our children by providing us with evidence to support education, health, community policy and planning. So this will be the 6th collection data to take place in schools this year, and it measures, as I said, how children are developing and how they transition into their first year of school based on these 5 main areas, which are physical health and wellbeing, social competence, emotional maturity, language and cognitive skills, and also communication skills and general knowledge. And this is really important because in the first 3 years of a child's life, 80% of the brain development is basically done. So it's really, really important for us as a community to be there supporting our young parents. Okay, so then we have the South Burnett Suicide Prevention Working Group. We're working on quite a few things at the moment. We're waiting to see if our grant application comes through from Wesley with regards to winter warmers. The aim of our group is to disseminate information to the community about what is actually available. And it could be as simple as handing out where to get help brochures or helping organise council with the community information cards. So we do have a Facebook page with information on, and we also aim at being at cattle sales throughout the year. Centrecare is a great help with us there because Andrea from Centrecare usually attends a lot of those for us as well. So, but we do go along with the help of Centrecare, Queensland Health, CTC, and they're just to name a few. We've also got businesses like Stanwell that have been with us since the beginning, since we formed. We've been going over 10 years now, so which is just fantastic. The South Burnett Community Consultative Committee is going strong. We had quite a large meeting last month. And I do look forward to the input from the community in the next month. The information coming back from that is that the Kingaroy Hospital Auxiliary is starting up to become in full force again. So if you'd like to be involved, please let me know and I can put you in touch with Alison. And if anyone has any issues with the hospital, please contact me, because if you've got any complaints about the hospital system or any compliments about the hospital system, it's really good to know either way. So, and the issues raised at the local level, I will usually take to the regional meeting with the grace of the South Burnett Committee. So, as I said, any ideas you want me to take forth to the regional, because if we're having an issue here within the South Burnett, they're probably having it at other areas too. So that's why it's so important for me to take it to the regional. So Queensland Health can see that if there's an issue or if there's not. The South Burnett interagency meeting, sadly, so far this year, I actually haven't been able to attend one since elections because we've had workshops and meetings on just about every time. But that is a group, so this is a group from many different organisations that get together without the South Burnett, and they share information. So it's an information sharing from all the different groups. So I go as council because council has a lot of things that we do within our community that the community groups need to know about. And if one community group's doing something, that another community group can join in, and that's where we all work best together as a community, and I think we know that. Madam Mayor, apart from all the meetings that we've had with regards to planning and roads issues with our community members, that's me for my report for this month. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You've been very busy, Deputy Mayor Potter, as per usual. So I'll hand over to Councillor Heath Sander to give his update. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Duff. I'd also like to thank the Relay for Life for the amazing breakfast this morning and catching up with Choppy Close. We've been, since the last meeting, I've been flat out on the roads, We've been around multitude of roads out the Boondooma area, Proston area. The visit with the councillors and the executive team and the CEO last week out to Proston to check out some stuff out there, which I believe is a good outcome for the residents, and I believe that there should be more of that, so that we can actually get out and see what's happening in the region rather than reading about it on paper. Go and actually see what's going on. And it gives us that opportunity to actually catch up with the residents in person. You know, that chat, just walking down the street of Proston and catching up with the residents was brilliant. So if we could look at doing that more often, it'd be beneficial, I believe. Just a few things that I've attended was a Mergen Business and Development meet and greet at Carney's Feed Store. Mayor Duff was there. And we caught up with a few, and just listening to Blue and Benita's their business and the way that they've structured it is unreal. I attended the Clontarf committee in Mergen put on a football event in Mergen last Thursday, and there was 130 students from all around the region, and also down to Toowoomba, Caboolture and Deception Bay areas, and I believe Dalby. So it was good to see those guys there that morning. Lou O'Brien was in attendance as well, and that afternoon we actually seen him out visiting some of the local attractions in the Mergen and Wondai area, so that was good to see also. Attended the Graham House Open Day on Saturday morning. There was a lot of people there in attendance, and the volunteers presentation was also good. We had St Peter Clavers School come from Caboolture and spend 4 days in the Mergen area visiting 2 other schools to help with some mental health stuff in the schools, and that was good to see. So there was probably, I think there was 30 students involved in that. We had a visit to the Mergen Shire Council Chambers from St Joseph's Primary School, Grade 4. So it was good to show those guys around the council office and inform them on what council actually looks after and what we're not responsible for. So also attending the Anzac Day celebrations at Piesville, Cherbourg and Mergen. I was honoured on behalf of council to lay the wreaths for those events, and the guest speaker, Dr. Graham McAllister, was brilliant at that event. So we've been out looking at planning developments and stuff with the RSL sub-branch in Mergen, and we've achieved some good outcomes there, so things have probably moved forward in that aspect. And other planning developments as well, which we've been working hard to try and get through. Attended the Wondai Business Breakfast yesterday morning, which was good to see what they've got happening with the rail trail and the running event, the Wondai Country Running Festival coming up. And just like to let the residents know that we are out there, we are looking at the potholes. A lot of them have been repaired, but then we had an unfortunate rain event again and a few potholes have come back, but we are working through policy and procedure changes to get those potholes repaired faster for the residents. And road maintenance, we're also looking into stuff like that. We've been out on the roads, we know all the problems, we're just trying to work through it. So I just ask the residents to be patient a little bit longer, but we will get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sander. Very good feedback I'm getting from Division 5 residents about your participation and work in the community. So I'll now hand over to Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor Kathy. So in the last month, it's been extremely busy down my neck of the woods. Lots of community consultations and meeting up with community groups. So most of my visits with local residents have been in their home, and they have lovely cups of tea and too much food. And they're all very kind to me. The biggest issues, of course, are roads, but it seems that we are well on the way to having a lot of those fixed. And other things are things like biosecurity, environmental things, koala habitat, other native species and weeds. So you have the groups of people that really want to see some progress, and then you have to balance that against the people who are extremely concerned about the environment. So it's a bit of a balancing act there. But anyway, I'm passing on everything that I'm hearing from people, and the team here, the executive team, have been wonderful getting back to me and helping me out with all of that. So I've done a lot of community group meetings. As my husband says, I'm never home at the moment. So the Blackbutt Aged Care are looking into building a 16 small home development in Blackbutt on the land that they own on Railway Terrace. So it's at the very early stages at the moment, and it will be done in over 2 separate levels. So the first 8 and then the second 8, but there's a few things to do with water and connectivity and sewerage and that we need to get worked out. So it's very, very early stages, but it'll be exciting if that project could go ahead. A reminder, the Blackbutt show is on this weekend. Anyone that wants to come down, it's always a really great show. The Avocado Festival is on the 14th of September. Again, that is something that's really great for the South Burnett and brings in a lot of visitors and tourists and people who enjoy their day. The Blackbutt District Tourism and Heritage are well underway with getting their the timber museum. So they've bought the building, and now they're just raising funds to be able to have the building transported to the heritage area there at Blackbutt. They are going to be holding a Christmas in July function, so planning for that is well underway. Some really exciting stuff that Jane and I were at a meeting for the Bunya Mountains Community Organisation. So on the 31st of August, there's going to be an event up at Fisher's Lookout, which is Music on the Porch, and it is a worldwide event on that one day. So it's really exciting, and plans are well underway for that. So I'm really looking forward to that, going up there for the weekend. Met with Visit South Burnett. That was my first meeting with them, and doing tremendous work within the South Burnett, and it was lovely to meet some business people and tourism operators and that there. It was a really great informative evening, so I'll be certainly keeping up to date with them. Anzac Day, so it was a busy day like the rest of us, I think. Started my day early at Blackbutt, then up to the Bunya Mountains, where they were very appreciative of a councillor being there. Apparently it's been a long time since they've had a councillor attend their Anzac Day service. And then back to Blackbutt to finish the day out there. And, Snap Send Solve, that's probably the best app that I've ever found, as Aaron will attest. I'm forever sending stuff through. So I recommend to everybody, if you have any issues that you see out and about, download the Snap Send Solve app, and when you're doing your description, you can put send CC to Linda Little on it when it's in my division, and I can help follow it up as well. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Little. Obviously doing a lot of hard work in Blackbutt, so congratulations and well done. So now I'll hand over to Councillor Brosheit.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, Division 6, it's been a busy month too, and it's fantastic that we're all really getting into our communities. Like everyone else, Anzac Day is huge, but the community is very appreciative of Council's contribution. I think the traffic management costs something like $50,000, which Council is contributing to the community to run these events. So, like Linda, I was up early for one day, and then I was actually privileged to be the guest speaker at the Cumbia event, and then back to Waroolan. So it was a huge day, but it's wonderful to see the huge crowds that we get, and that the community really does come out to support and remember on Anzac Day. Sorry. Play Your Way was a grant that came out, and it's quite exciting that there's been a lot of grants applied. A lot of organisations have applied for that. I know the woodworkers, the Waroolan trainers, are just a couple that have applied in Division 6, so we're hoping that they're successful. A couple of huge events in Division 6 was the Boondooma Homestead Spirit of the Bush. It was held a couple of weeks ago. That's been running for 20 plus years. Kathy would know more. But they always get a huge crowd there, and it's wonderful. And then, of course, the famous Burren Down had its 102nd outing, and again, it attracts a lot of people to our region, so that was good. As many people would know, I'm something of a fan of the rail trail, and it's amazing how many events we're getting. We had the Relay Express, which is actually run by the Ashgrove Rangers, which is a running group in Brisbane. They can't find anywhere in southeast Queensland to run a relay event until they found the rail trail, and they said it is perfect because you can have runners for 60k, because it goes Kingaroy, Wondai and back, and they're all different legs of the relay. So it actually becomes the Queensland Relay Championships, and my team was actually third. So I think you could say I'm a Queensland champion. But it does bring you down to earth, because there's fast teams and slow teams, and the slow teams start an hour earlier, and in the paper they referred to us as the tortoises. So that did bring us down to ground, but we had a fantastic time, and it's great to bring these runners up to this region. And then last Sunday, we had the Mother's Day Classic, which is a 4 and a 8k run, which raises funds for breast and ovarian cancer. We had over 100 community participants, and it's good for raising funds, but it's also a wonderful opportunity for people, the community and people to get together to remember who those lost to cancer, and to encourage those going through the treatment. So it raised over $5,000, so that was good. Like Heath and Kathy, I attended the Wondai Business Network. It's fantastic that so many of our little towns have these business networks promoting their towns, but also keen to work together for our region. Baido Women had a workshop last Friday, which was another great event. And then something I'm very excited about is, we all know there's a lack of doctors in this area, like other regional areas. But the community nurse in Wondai is actually starting a drop-in clinic. And I'm really keen to push that, because I think I'd love to see more community nurses in the regional towns to take the pressure off our doctors, which I think is a great opportunity moving forward. But yeah, I look forward to the next exciting month in Division 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hyde. Obviously working very, very hard in Division 6, so thank you. And I'll hand over to Councillor Erkins to talk about Division 1.
So we all know why it's called Division 1, number 1. Not that I'm parochial, but however, the Mayor has given us permission to be parochial. So probably one of the things for me, one of the things I like to do most in my community is having community working together. So we had last weekend the first opening of our fire pit, a Tipperary flat, and we had the marshmallow roasting, which was very well attended. Our Mayor had to take lessons on how to roast a marshmallow. But I would really like to thank the staff, the executive staff from both infrastructure and gardens, and the guys who actually went down there and worked, because it really is looking absolutely amazing. It's a great attraction to not only visitors, but also for locals. So it's a great place to, grab your lunch and go down there and sit at the park. And hopefully we're going to have some more events down there. Our next one, we're thinking we might have a potato roasting day down there, and hopefully, we'll get some more people come. Another thing, we've got the weir is actually open at the moment on its trial period, and that is going very well. But I happened to see on YouTube there was a review on it, and it actually said underwhelmed by the weir, and I thought, oh my, how dare you? So I went on it, And he did, that was actually what the start of it was. And as it went through it, he runs you through where to get the key, about our town, the drive out there, and you know, he's sort of a few times been a bit underwhelmed by it. And about halfway through, he just said, you know, I've got to change my opinion. This is a fabulous place. Sitting here, he said he was there on one of the hottest days, the breeze coming off the water, you know, he'd taken his little stove out and had a cup of tea, and he was just saying what a relaxing, congratulated council on the great initiative, and really encouraged us to continue. And on his review, he actually changed that name to just a review on the Weir, and he took the underwhelmed off, and did say at the end that he was very overwhelmed by it. One of the things like all small, you know, our small communities, which make up a big region, without the work of community organisations who do so much for our community. So we had a couple of weekends ago, first weekend actually in May, we had a soccer event, we had rugby league, we had Western Performance, we had the park runners, we all, you know, lots of areas do. We also had the ultra marathon out at Dead Cow Gully, which attracted 200 runners, really from across, you know, international runners were there as well. We had someone from there from Japan, we had runners from New Zealand. That was really a great event that puts our region on the world stage. And if you go through those ultra marathon sites, there are heaps of people following that event. We've got other groups in the area. We've got the theatre group, they're gearing up for their one-act plays. It's a 3-day event, which is a great event. But working with on Ringsfield, which is a historic house in Nanango, it's a fabulous facility. We're working there. We've got a group of people keen to get an art gallery going in the side room. We're the only town, I think, that doesn't have a little art gallery, so working to get that. We have another group, can't think of their name now, the Morning Melodies. They do Morning Melodies once a month up at the church at Ringsfield, where people go up and they have little games, they put on little skits, they have entertainers, they serve tea and coffee out in the gardens. A great event, a great group who are bringing our community together. And of course up there we also have the Tai Chi, who Mayor Duff and myself went up and participated. Well, Kathy participated. I took the photos. The working but with other organisations such as the Tourist Association in Nanango, NAPTA, they one of the things that people probably don't know is they actually have caretakership of the Masonic Lodge in Nanango. So anyone who wants to know what about the goats and that in the Masonic Lodge, that is actually open if anyone would like to go up and have a look through a lodge. It's there is a museum. The Business Alliance, I attended a meeting there. They're starting to gear up and looking at thoughts for their Christmas carnival. I also attended the Bowie Hall. They have a very small committee out there. They have an absolutely fabulous facility, and they're really quite keen for people who are interested in helping out there. You know, many locals can tell you about the fabulous dancers out there, but they really are an ageing committee, like a lot of our committees in the region, and they do need some help. So they are going to be having an afternoon tea out there for anyone that's interested. Working with the Lions Club, they've approached me. We all know that homelessness is an issue, but you know, we're really not in a position to be building houses and doing something for the homeless, but there are people who at this stage are really just need either a tent or a sleeping bag, and the Lions Club in Nanango are very keen to work with us to see what we can do to make things a little easier for people that are, you know, suffering at this time. So the Anzac Day, I'd really also like to acknowledge General Manager Susan and CEO Mark, who also assisted by attending, because there are so many towns and events that it's impossible for councillors, even though they were going from one to another, to attend all of those. So it was really great to have the CEO Mark and GM Susan go to those, and also to the local RSL organisations who put on that event, and several events in each town, and to the community who go and recognise that what we have today is through, you know, sacrifices made by people before. And I know it's probably not nice to mention, but I do want to mention that while we were there celebrating what had been done for us, that there was an incident in Nanango that was pretty poor, and to those people involved, I want them to know that, you know, I was pretty disappointed in my community, and as I said, I like to be positive, but that was very, very disappointing to see something like that in front of the Mayor, the President of the RSL, and our community. But finishing that on a positive note, I have been speaking to SES Arthur Dawson and also with the CEO, and we're pretty hopeful that we're going to investigate some options to see what options are available to get that skating rink back up and going. And I think that's all I've done. You'll have to put us on a time limit next meeting. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. I love your passion for Division 1. You do an amazing job representing your community. So I'd like to call on Councillor Deb Deneen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Duff. It has been a very action-packed and full month since our last council meeting. We've had the privilege of one, of course, very close to my heart, having just lost my father, who was an ex-serviceman, was Anzac Day. It was very special to be able to attend the dawn service, and then to speak at the Wando service and to watch the Warrulan School Band, and then go and watch them again at the Warrulan service. The Wando one was amazing, and Warrulan, thank you very much for your address too, Councillor Hyde. It was another very special commemoration of people who have been here and looked after us and continue to look after us, because I do have a son in the Army and one that was in the Navy. So Anzac Day to me is an extremely important day, and I'm thankful that the Council support it so much, not just by attending, but by the financial commitment that we give to that, because not all regions do that. We're very lucky here that we've got a great council staff that helps support it very well. There's been a lot going on here. The Eisteddfod was massive. You could not get anywhere near the Kingaroy Town Hall for 2 weeks. A great showcase of our young talent and in the region. Very interesting was the Proston visit, where we got to speak to long-term Proston Council employees who we're so grateful to have people like that really have their heart in our community and work so hard for council. We've got great executive staff, but we've got great staff on the ground too. The KCCI meeting, gosh, there were some people there. We're getting a really strong community here. It always has been. Like when you go to the Burrendown races, you realise that committee is huge and that's a massive event. That's just indicative of our community, the organisations, as we've spoken about, the Relay for Life. What were the figures this morning? On average, Queenslanders raise $1 a head for charity. In South Burnett, we raise $6 a head. That's amazing. You know, that's a tribute to our community. I've been lucky enough to go to a few Parks and Gardens meetings, and one that I found quite interesting and didn't even realise when I've walked past many times with my dog when we lived in Webster Street, is the nature reserve at Carroll Park at the top of Fisher Street. There's a really good committee there trying to make sure the weeds are gone and make sure that that's a beautiful place. And they were very grateful to Council for putting the park benches in there, which are great, but they would love a few more people to come along. And at the moment, we're supporting their application for a grant to do a sign up, a lovely big sign that'll talk about the fauna and flora there. There's a lot of birds there. So I just say, anybody, if you're thinking about just a quiet spot to sit with your lunch, go in there. Just inside there's a beautiful grassed area that they look after as well, that committee. So that we're actually in talks with a few people connected to Karoo Park, which is also another lovely little park that we've got. West so grateful to have these green spaces in our towns. And Adam Park, there's work going on there, which our staff have finally kept me in the loop and finding out where we're up to with that, and it's going super. I thought one of the interesting things I went to recently, the Baido Women's Morning, was well run, well attended, interesting guest speakers, very supportive, and we have had Baido come and do a presentation to us as well. They're certainly a group that continually goes from funding to funding, and that would be a difficult model to sustain, but they're very passionate people, and that's why they keep going. They've been going for 22 years, I believe. We met with the TAFE recently. Wow, aren't we lucky to have a TAFE here that has got so much space, enough space for cattle, enough space for so many different classes there, and a great team that are committed to working with our council, our community, and the future projects to educate even more people so we can keep our young people in the South Burnett, and they can come here, they can get jobs here, they can learn here, and they can continue to give back to our region, which I thought was wonderful. Another lovely thing I went to was Kingaroy Show, of course. It's a great show. I love Blackbutt Show too. It's a little while since I've been to Blackbutt Show. They used to have a side saddle class there, so it's a lovely show. Kingaroy Show worked beautifully, and it didn't even rain much. So it was a little bit damp, but not too bad. The South Burnett Support Alliance actually went to one of the Nanango plays, which was fabulous, as always. And a lady from the Kingaroy South Burnett Support Alliance sat next to me. The fact that they do meals for people who are unable to look after themselves every Wednesday in Kingaroy, free, is a great testament to our community. We've got a lot of businesses and a lot of organisations that are helping out, but they're serving around 70 people Wednesday night. So, you know, for our people who are really doing it tough, that's a great opportunity for them to have such a healthy meal and some support from people. So thank you very much for that. And I think that's about all that I really wanted to highlight, but there's such a lot going on, and I'm so grateful to be here amongst this team of councillors and staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deneen, for that update on Division 4, and just thank you to all the councillors. You're obviously working really hard for your communities, and we really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And if the media wants to take any stories out of those particular addresses, feel free to talk to the councillors individually. Thank you. So now we're moving on to the minutes of the council meeting held on the 24th of April 2024. That's on page 8, item 7.1. So could I have someone to move that those, Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Deneen. Any discussions around the minutes? Any questions? All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to item 51, business outstanding table for ordinary council meeting on page 51, and it's item 9.1. So thank you to the CEO and the team for putting this into a format. I think Councillor Height wanted it changed. There's still work happening with it, but we've at least now got the particular GMs listed there so to help navigate the business outstanding. So are there any questions? So could I have someone move the business outstanding table for the ordinary meeting be received? For information, Councillor Deneen, seconded Councillor Little. No discussion. You don't want to go through any of the items? Everyone happy? All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to item 10.1 on page 81. So that is the local law repealing, local law number 1, 2023 subordinate local laws, repealing subordinate local law number 1, 2023. So the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council resolves to proceed with the making of and make number 1 local law repealing local law number 1, 2023 as advertised, but amended by the omission of each reference to 2023 and the insertion instead of a reference to 2024. And number 2, subordinate local law repealing subordinate local law number 1, 2023 as advertised, but amended by the omission of each reference to 2023 and the insertion instead of a reference to 2024. So could I have someone to move that? Councillor Deneen, so your light is on. Sorry, Councillor Deneen. And someone to second that? Councillor Erkins. Well, I might hand over to CEO Mark just to enlighten us to what that actually means.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. It's the end of a process we started in 2023. So both of the draft local laws to repeal the redundant local law and subordinate local law, hence the amendment. We've had no submissions. As you can see by the attachments, these are, it's a fair process when dealing with a local law in any which way. This is, when I say a relatively simple one, it's to repeal 2 redundant local laws from way back in the day, 2008 and 2011, when the models first came in. So this is the first stage of tidying up our books. The next one is then, first category off the rank is the animal local law, and there'll be at least another one to go with that. We've had a workshop, there'll be further workshops and a further report to council to start the process to amend those local laws and bring them up to where council wants them now. But this one is just, an administrative process. Both of these, the subordinate local law was about cane trains. Local law number 1 was with regards to meetings. Legislation in the world has moved on since 2008, and so these are both now redundant.
So thank you, CEO Mark. So do we have any questions? Everyone happy? All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to item number 10.2 on page 92. Wide Bay Regional Organisation of Council's motion. So I actually was contacted by Mayor George Seymour because they were having a urgent meeting about the renewables led by the Mayor of Bundaberg, Helen Blackburn. She was concerned because she was attending a meeting the next day, so that they called an urgent meeting and asked, because I had expressed concern about the renewables in our region at the mayoral forum in Brisbane, they asked me if I could put together something to discuss as a flying minute. So I actually put together what we had already in the previous council. We had put forward a resolution that's going to the local government conference, but I just changed a little bit to make it more relevant to local government. So it's been it's going to every single Webrock council to decide whether they want to accept it or amend it. And so far, I think Bundaberg Council has accepted it in its entirety as it's presented here today. We've got, 10 dot points. So, so the Webrock is made up of Bundaberg, North Burnett, South Burnett, Gympie and Fraser Coast. So they're all taking it to their council, and then it will be if it's carried by all of those councils, it will be the position that Webrock takes going forward to advocate to try and shape change for the way renewables are being rolled out in our communities. So will I read the whole? No. Oh, sorry, and Cherbourg Council is included in that Webrock. So I'll just, it's as tabled. I think everybody's had a copy of it. Would anyone like, is everyone happy to, I'll move that that is seeks that it's Webrock seeks its member council's approval to write to the state government seeking that a moratorium of all large-scale wind, solar, battery energy storage systems, pumped hydro and related transmission projects be imposed until there's a 10 dot points. So I'll move that. Would someone like to second that? Councillor Sander. Any discussion? Councillor Potter.
Yep. And thank you very much for bringing this forward, Mayor Duff. I'm just, you know, this is great, but I'm just wondering whether there should be something in that, because at the moment, you know, Stanwell in our community, they're a great community member, and they do put forth a lot of funding towards the different activities and even infrastructure throughout the South Burnett. So I'm just wondering, unless I've missed it, I can't see anything there that, you know, if we're going to have renewables, that they should be making sure that there's a community, they have a community fund. So is that something that should go in there or not? What are your thoughts? I'm happy to hear your thoughts on that one, or whether you're willing.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Like what you're saying is that if there's a renewable project, is that all renewable projects, or just because there's small ones, there's big ones. Like, are we going to ask for a community fund for? Do you want to clarify that, or I might ask CEO Mark to?
Yeah, the only it's certainly a point, and council's advocated for a legacy project type program out of them rather than smaller little programs. The only problem with amending this resolution, if I may, is that it's been circulated to all member councils of the ROC, so this is what they're all voting on. So I certainly wouldn't lose the thought for either the LGAQ State Conference as well, or another forum, but this one is being done by flying minute through the ROC, so we'll just be a little bit reluctant to change it, otherwise we'll have to go back to all the other ROC members and start again, and by the time you do your meeting cycle, that will take some time.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think there's some wording in here that would support, you know, helping affected communities. Well, there's a mandatory code of conduct to establish to govern the renewable energy sector and renewable energy proponents' conduct with affected communities, including notifying. Well, that's just one to notify the local government. It is. I do hear what Councillor Potter's saying, but it is probably problematic. But what we could do is add that in when we go to the WebRock meeting to put that as another dot point. We could take that on board. So thank you, Councillor Potter. Any other discussion? Everyone happy to vote? So it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Sander. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to item 11.1, and that's on page 94. And that one is that the South Burnett Regional Council advertising spending policy statutory 047 be adopted as presented. So someone like to move that? Councillor Little, someone to second that? Councillor Height. Any discussion? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 11.2, adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Community Group and Organisation Infrastructure Charges Policy on page 99. And the recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council Community Group and Organisation Infrastructure Charges Policy Statutory 030 be adopted as presented. Would someone like to move that? Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Height. Any discussion around that particular policy? Councillor Sander.
On page 102, it's got activities like 3.1.2. There's some activities in there. It's got, you'll see the list. (102). So eligible community groups, it's got funeral parlour, healthcare service, hospital. Some of those in the region wouldn't fall upon under the community group.
So I'll just hand over to CEO Mark to clarify this.
If I could give an example of funeral parlours. So council several years ago introduced its, and it was on the behalf of, and just as an example, and I'm not sure they've even applied for this, but infants there's no charge for services. So the funeral parlours in those instances, because council has no charge and there was a partnership with us, they deliver no charge. So I think the law, the bottom paragraph is that, and it's probably whether Susan wants to throw 20 cents in worth too, but sometimes these groups will come with a community initiative that's for the benefit of community organisations or individuals. So it's an example list, but not exhaustive of different activities that may be supported. We have community funerals too. We did Reg McCallum's. There was council gave in-kind support and services. Now that was a private individual film, but the service at that, we certainly, given Reg's long-standing service to the community, there was in-kind supported in that. So the policy tries to, it can't be everything to everyone, but it does try to pick up some of those sorts of things. They're straight off the top of my head, Councillor.
So, Councillor Sander, does that answer your question?
It probably answers the funeral parlour one, but then you got hospitals, places of worship, cemeteries, healthcare services.
I think it just gives us an opportunity to support these particular, if they have any of these activities, it's an opportunity for us to support them. Is that how you see it? So that's why I've got the list of examples of where we might support if it's something to do that's, benefits our community. So that's been listed, but it's not exhaustive. Like you said, there could be other things, but that's basically the what the purpose of those dot points is.
So that's just covering all bases, making sure that if something happens in those areas that because it's got up the top, eligible community groups or not-for-profit organisations.
I think is the wording confusing? Like must undertake an activity. Are you concerned that they must undertake one of these activities, and we haven't listed them all, or just wanting to see if you wanted the wording tweaked, or?
Well, under the definition, and it's a not-for-profit organisation, it's just hard to try and comprehend that a healthcare service or a funeral parlour or a hospital would be a not-for-profit organisation.
Healthcare services, hospitals, South Bank Medical is a not-for-profit. So the provider at Lady Bajolki Peterson Community Hospital for many years is it's a not-for-profit organisation that's not for individual profit, and its profits get redirected into healthcare services. So they do exist. And as I said, looking at the bottom paragraph, it's the list is not exhaustive or determination of activity that benefits the community. Applicants may demonstrate other activities that benefit the community of the South Burnett region. The gist of the policy is for the benefit of residents of the South Burnett region.
So I think we waive currently the 50% for any of those that, and they have to fill out an application. So if they're ineligible, there's an opportunity for us to not support that particular proposal. But yeah, it's just did you want to change some of those, or would you happy to support the current wording, or did you want it changed? Councillor Sander?
I think the CEO's explanation probably covered it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions around that particular policy? Councillor Height?
So just a question, with the infrastructure charges, it says they may be entitled to reductions. That sounds very non-definite. On what criteria are they offered the reduction?
So that they do have to fill in an application, and then is that delegated to the CEO to assess those, or how does that work?
In accordance with the policy, and it may be, and we have had like the example of there are not-for-profits that council hasn't, we've brought them back to council that council hasn't supported for a range of very legitimate reasons. If everyone was automatically entitled to, there may be a example of a not-for-profit that doesn't set other criteria or may not deliver any form of benefit to our community. So the may is to, if there is something that isn't supported, it's a lot harder to argue not giving it if it's mandatory. That's all, Councillor.
So, any other questions? So it's been moved by Councillor Potter and seconded by Councillor Hyde. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now moving on to item 11.3 on page 106, adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee Policy Statutory 045. So that's the officer's recommendation that we adopt that policy as presented. Do I have a mover? Councillor Potter and seconded Councillor Dineen. Any speakers or questions? Thought you might like to say something, Councillor Potter, about your passion is the Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee. So,
thank you, Mayor Duff. This is just really a tweaking of the policy that we brought in a little while ago. So I'm just glad that we have a policy there that we're able to bring back to the council to have a look at again. Thank you.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Dineen. Put it to the vote. All those in favour. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hyde.
It's got a wave here. Just looking at the previous version where the membership, there was listed organisations and now it's just 6 representatives. I'm just concerned that there may not be enough diversity across the sectors and across the region, and whether we should have a comment in there that, you know, we don't want 6 people from the same organisation and the same town on it. That was my concern, and whether there should be a dot point in there that diversity would be considered across the region and across the sectors.
So are we at this point able to amend that policy? So would you
That's
like
what we're here for.
to move an amendment? So if I'll just, with the approval of the mover and seconder, Councillor Potter and Councillor Dineen, do you approve what's Councillor Hyde suggesting?
I'm more than happy to have that.
Not quite sure how you'd word it, just a dot point that in selection of the committee that consideration be given to the different arts and culture sectors and the different towns across the region, or something to that effect. Or different parts of the region, maybe. I don't know, whatever you... Could be. You see, the old one just listed, there had to be one from Blackbutt Art Gallery, one from Yamaroy Art Gallery, and now it's just 6, and I think it wouldn't be good if they were all from one area and one...
I think the reason was changed to make it more diverse.
So Deputy Mayor,
Well, flexibility.
I think Deputy Mayor Potter's got her light on.
Thank you. So the reason it was sort of changed was because we did have people from all those groups and we had their proxies, which is wonderful. But I think it's to get, because we didn't list everything, and even then when we had some listed, we still brought it back to council, if you remember, and we added a couple different things in. So to have 6 people, and fair and diversity is exactly what we need. And we want them from all over the South Burnett. We want them from Blackbutt. We want them from Mergen. We want them, you know, from every single town. But there's also, apart from those 6, there's also those 2, because we've got to remember that we're culture and heritage as well. So we do need those at least 2 members that from the cultural and heritage sort of side of things from the community as well. So, but diversity is a big thing, what we're trying to do. So I'd probably take whether CEO Mark or Manager Moore would have anything to add to that, or Acting GM Leanne, or with regard to that wording?
CEO Mark's happy to comment.
Through the Mayor, that we'll note in the minutes that policy be adopted as amended would need to be in the recommendation, and that it would be the diversity for consideration of arts and cultural sectors for membership selection and geographical spread be added to as an amendment in the
to
policy.
ensure diversity.
Yep.
So we'll just wait to get that wording. Did you want to do the geographical spread? Did you have that? So we've in selection of the committee, consideration be given to the different arts and culture sectors and different parts of the region to
Mark's suggestion was geographic.
ensure diversity through.
I'm just looking. Diversity of committee across the region. Consideration of the arts and cultural sectors.
Just
I've got it typed in here, so which I can send to you. So if I just
if CEO Mark just reads it out, and then
Yep.
we can get
so the
that
amendment
put in.
Oh, sorry, Mayor. My apologies. So the amendment is to ensure diversity of the committee across the diversity of the committee selection process. So consideration of the arts and cultural sectors for membership selection, and a geographical spread across the region be added as an amendment to the policy.
So Deputy Mayor Potter, are you happy with that? And Councillor Deneen?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, so Councillor Hyde, are you happy with that wording? So ready to put to the vote? All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody. So the next item is adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Surveillance Camera Operations Policy, Statutory 051, on page 111. So that we have that policy. So would someone like to move? Councillor Sander. Someone to second? Councillor Potter. So any discussion around that particular policy? Councillor Sander.
After looking at the South Burnett CCTV stuff across the region, can we look at a full review of incorporating all those cameras and for the South Burnett Regional Council to take control of them?
Yes, so I think that's a good suggestion, because I know that particularly in Mergen they want to have that looked at. So we do that as an additional dot point. So we've got a recommendation. So do you want to just adopt the policy first and then add that one? So if you're happy, Councillor Sander, we're just going to adopt the actual policy and then put that as a further dot point that we consider, well, that we actually look at taking it on, a report to come back to take it on across the region, like whether we just use, some of them, do some of the towns, or just have a look at it and have a report come back. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, it's just that it's a grey area at the moment with repairs and stuff to some of the cameras. There's a couple faulty in Mergen, and we're just looking at trying to incorporate that to see who's responsible for the repairs and bring them on board.
Yeah, I know that GM Aaron, would you like to comment on that, or we'll wait till? How about we adopt the policy and then we'll comment on the additional recommendation. So, any questions around the policy, Councillor Erkins?
Just quickly, Mayor Cathy, we did speak about that yesterday. Nanango's cameras, I believe, I'd like I don't want us to just decide that they're all going one way, because Nanango cameras are actually funded and supported by Heritage and go direct to the police. So before we do that, I'd like to be consulting with the police and Heritage.
So at the moment, councillors, we're just going to adopt the policy, which doesn't specify who's in charge of the maintenance. It's just the actual policy around how we manage the surveillance cameras across the region and our particular, from the council point of view. But this the actual recommendation from Councillor Sander would be a separate item that would be talking about the actual ongoing maintenance of the CCTV cameras potentially across the region or at certain specific towns. So we're just moving the one about the adoption of the policy. So any questions about the actual policy? All those in favour? Against? Carried. So now I'll just, we've got a recommendation up for Councillor Sander that Council review the operation and maintenance of security cameras through the region as part of the operational plan. So is that the wording that you're happy with, Councillor Sander?
Yes, whether Councillor Erkins wanted to add anything to that in regards to Nanango.
No, I'm happy with the wording that we're just reviewing it and come back with what the answers are.
Thank you. So we've got Councillor Sander has moved that. So someone to second that? Councillor Deneen? Speakers? Or I've got CEO Mark wants to say
Mayor,
something.
the only thing I would add in is that it'll be in the 24-25 operational plan. So this year's all but done.
So we'll just add that 2024-25 operational plan. So that's just, I'll ask GM Meehan to comment because I know that I've been on his lobbying to have our council take over the maintenance because it's been a continual concern for particularly Mergen, and I know there's other towns that have got their CCTV cameras and they've got some way of managing them, whether it's community groups or whether it's the police. But for Mergen, I know it was a big ticket item, just that ongoing maintenance. So I'll just hand over to GM Meehan.
Yeah, good morning, councillors. Through you, Madam Mayor. So council's got a range of CCTV across the region, some controlled by us, some controlled by Leanne's group. This will be a good opportunity to bring them consistently, and I think noting the feedback is the most important thing is that the cameras are operational and ensuring that's in place for the community safety. We have a range of arrangements across the region by different groups, and this will give council an opportunity to review those and make them either consistent or look to continue those where they're effective and improve others to ensure the system is working.
So thank you, GM Meehan. So Councillor Erkin, so this is just it'll be just looking at every option. Yes, okay. So we're ready to vote. So that's been moved by Councillor Sander and seconded by Councillor Deneen. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to adoption of the South Belt Regional Council consideration of applications for reduction in council fees and charges, building, plumbing and planning applications policy strategic 017 on page 117. So could I have someone to move that? Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Height. So we've just got in the preces that's we've just taken out adoption of the South Belt Regional Council surveillance camera operation policy statutory. That's just a typo there in that report. So are there any questions around that particular policy? No questions? So we've got, it's been moved by Councillor Potter and seconded by Councillor Height. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to 11.6 on page 121, adoption of the South Belt Regional Council complaint management policy, statutory 040. So could I have a mover of that motion? Councillor Little, seconded Councillor Height. Any discussion around that particular policy? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Item 11.7 on page 127, adoption of the South Belt Regional Employee Code of Conduct Policy, statutory 011. Could I have someone to move that? Councillor Sander. Someone to second it? Councillor Little. Any discussion? Questions? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're moving on to 11.8, which is the monthly financial information on page 137. Oh, did you want to? Would someone like to? Did you want to move that we go for morning tea, Councillor Hyde? Okay, so Councillor Hyde has moved that we adjourn for morning tea. Someone to second that? Councillor Erkins? All those in favour? So Councillor Sanders has voted against it. So Councillor Sanders will stay in the room. Thank you. We'll adjourn for morning tea. And we'll be back at what time, CEO Mark? 15 minutes? 15 minutes. We'll be back at 10:45, please. So we'll resume the meeting. So I'd like someone to move that we resume the meeting. Councillor Little. Seconded Councillor Erkins. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We're moving on to item 11.8, the monthly financial information. I'll hand over to GM Jarvis, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. This is just a summary of the monthly financials. So the amended budget reflects the third quarter budget revision as adopted at the April council meeting. The recurrent revenue is sitting at 92% compared to the amended budget. The recurrent expenditure is sitting at 87%. Revenue is impacted by the timing effects of various income streams, so that's your grants revenue and also the timing in our rates revenue. Council's current cash holdings at the end of April 24 was 75.62 million, with 32.07 million of this currently classed as restricted cash. That leaves us about 43.55 million free cash. Our investments are attracting 4.15% with the QTC and 4.6% with the CBA. All ratios at the end of April are all within their respective targets, apart from the current ratio, which is outside the target of between 2 and 4 and is sitting at 4.39. This is largely due to the large cash balance at the end of April because we've levied our rates, so that's not a bad thing to have. The council capital expenditure program is currently sitting at 15.15 mil in actual expenditure, which equates to approximately 40.4% of the total amended budget. When taking into account committed costs of 11.7 million, the total expenditure is 26.89 mil, which represents approximately 72% of the amended budget. We will be advised very soon about our FAGs, our financial assistance grants going into next financial year. We normally sit around about 7.1 mil, so we're just waiting to be advised on that. And the borrowings, council's borrowings, are still sitting at 23.6 mil. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you, GM. Susan, any questions to Susan on the Councillor Height?
One thing you said, which isn't in the report, QTC, did you say you're getting 4.4%, but 4.6% from CBA? So CBA is actually higher than QTC? That's a bit unusual.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. That's correct, Councillor. Yeah, that does happen sometimes. It's a lot better than when we had COVID. The interest rates, I think we were getting about 0.06% on our investments. So it's a big improvement since then.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And with the FAGS grant, are we expecting, there's been no announcement whether it will be higher or lower, and we should get that at the end of this financial year, the next financial year?
That's correct, Councillor. No, there's been no indication there, but we're hoping something. I haven't had time to digest the budget last night, the announcement, so there hasn't been any good news stories from LGAQ at the moment, so fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So would someone like to move that the monthly financial report be received? So Councillor Potter, seconded Councillor Deneen. So that the recommendation is that the monthly financial report, including capital works and works for Queensland W4Q4 as at the 30th of April 2024 be received and noted. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We're now moving on to item 13.1 on page 182. The officer's recommendation is that the South Bennett Regional Council adopts the Arts, Culture and Heritage ACH Strategic Plan 2024 to 2029. Could I have someone to move that? Someone to move that? Deputy Mayor Potter. Someone to second that? Councillor Little. Any speakers to the policy? Councillor Potter.
Yeah, so this is the South Bennett Arts, Culture and Heritage Strategic Plan. This is the first one of its kind. The council is actually that we're bringing forth. This has been put forward through community consultation from when we were putting our first policy together. It was information collected from that. And also this has brought information collected from community consultation done through our Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee. So look, I just think that this is fantastic that we're able to bring something like this forward, because as a community we need to know where we're heading with regards to arts, culture and heritage. So thank you very much for your support in this one. Thank you.
Councillor Height.
Through you, can I just get an indication of, is there a budget assigned to this plan, and what would that budget be?
Who would like to answer that? Councillor Potter?
Through you, Mayor Duff, I'm wondering whether GM Leanne would be the one to answer that question.
So I'll hand over to Acting GM Leanne.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. We've also got the manager for communities here, Deborah. So Deborah will be able to also speak to it if you like.
So Deborah, would you like to come up and address the chamber? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to say that we have put some things in this year's budget to deliver some activities, so that will all be presented as part of this year's budget, what we can deliver.
Thank you. Councillor Hyde, are you happy with that?
Just in the strategy, there was no indication of, it's all very well having a strategic plan, but is there a sort of, estimation of how much we're going to spend on that each year?
We haven't done it on a year-by-year basis at the moment, so we've just pulled some things that we think we can deliver in the financial year, and we've put them within the budget to see how they go. The other thing we need to also recognise with this particular strategy is we do not have a dedicated staff member to deliver it either, so it'll have to be just what we can do with what we've got, resources we've got at the moment as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Potter.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
No, go.
Okay. Look, this strategy has been through the Arts, Culture and Heritage Advisory Committee, and some of the work within the strategy will be done by the committee. I do realise that some of the work will also have to be done by council, by council itself. So, but that's something I'm hoping to get the support with the council for. Thank you.
So, Councillor Erkins.
Thank you. I'm not actually sure whether this is the section that this needs to be raised in, but we have spoken before about grants or funding and what we do. I really would like to see a little more input from councillors on where funding is spent, because I don't know if it's through this or where, but I know I see things advertised and then I have people complain to me about something and I've had, I don't actually know anything about it. So, as I said, I don't know if this is in this section or across the board, possibly, but some of the things that we provide, and without being too critical, but sometimes I see things advertised and I think, oh, fancy, what are we doing that for? And then I hear even that we've had to cancel it because we've had nobody interested in it. So a little bit of maybe feedback from councillors who are involved in their community and know what is going to be attractive to some of their community, rather than putting things on and people go to it because they feel they've got to support it.
So thank you, Councillor. So I agree. I think we need to have more, the councillors need to be more involved in those particular events, particularly when we got those funding grants and we don't hear about them until they're actually advertised and the flyers are out. So I might hand over to CEO Mark just to clarify how we might be able to move forward so that councillors can have more input into those projects that we roll out.
Thanks, Mayor, and I'll just be succinct as far as certainly the comments have been noted and have been noted previously as trying to, or not trying to, but improving getting the projects and advertised on even through the council programs, particularly in Councillor Hyde's question. So the strategic plan, this is another one of the ones that is a legacy program from the past 4 years. Not that that's a bad thing. It's actually lovely to have it finalised and brought to life. It will need a fair bit of discussion. So short answer is it hasn't been funded. It's a strategic document that sets a range of activities, same as the economic one. It'll be almost corporate plan, operational plan. It'll be council's decision each year what and how it does, what resources it puts to it. So there'll be a fair bit of discussion about this document when we get into the livability section as how it's funded. But it hasn't been, and partly in my mind, it was not to pre-commit the incoming council to a project that it wasn't necessarily supportive of, and it's not necessarily even in this space, but these are the ones, everything new term reset for what the priorities are. This is a conclusion of a process, and it's a really great building block, and totally agree with Deputy Mayor as far it's a really great building block for the arts and the arts committee to give some guidance. But these are living, the old cliche, these are living documents, and now it can be pulled apart. And before council proceeds anywhere in an operational document in this space, this needs to be discussed as to what the key deliverables are going forward. So you're not committed to any funding at this point.
So, Councillor Hyde, you're happy with that response? Councillor Erkins.
Just to further on to that, and I don't want to be labouring the point, but we recently attended a meeting where they were just, well, I thought we were going to be discussing street art, but when it was actually presented to it was more like one person's street art. And sometimes, you know, oh, that was really good, but I don't want to think that we're committed into doing something that is not, you know, that is not what we want to do, that we make sure if we are going to do any street art and there's a budget that we're involved in deciding, you know, we don't want to see the ants hanging from the ceiling, maybe.
So, thank you, Councillor Erkins. I'll just hand over to CEO Mark, because I think whether we could have a motion around this so that we, into the future, councillors have some more input into those projects that we roll out, so we are across them, how we shape that into the future.
I think, Mayor, rather than, if I may, and can I? You are labouring, councillor. No, we're all of us in my mind as to what does this look like going forward, and how does it work, and certainly the manager's point about what staffing resources, how, and there's a broader conversation, tourism and a whole range of things. The individual street art ones that aren't sanctioned by council, and it probably goes without saying, there are street murals and street art that SBRC and a whole raft of different groups, the galleries do, the blue poles that we have no functional say over them, nor should we. They're their individual groups. But and certainly I think Councillor Potter raised it last meeting as to this same topic, and it is how do we workshop this, and how do we get a practical. The point of the pudding, from what I heard out of the last meeting, is when we apply for the grants. Because if we're doing the and I don't mean to be flippant, but if we're doing the That's Life coupon and grant, and then amending a program to fit what we applied for, it doesn't really satisfy anybody. And I'm not saying we're doing that, but what are the strategic, what are the resources, where do we want to go, what do you want to put your time and money into and go after those grant opportunities? And there may be some stuff that comes through that we let go through to the keeper because it doesn't fit with what we want to do. And rather than having someone tied up and having to employ someone to do X, Y, Z, a lot of the grant programs, you're actually tied. Once you apply for it, and whatever you applied for, you can't, well, most of them, you can't redirect the funds to another project. So you're stuck. So a point of application is the key point. And maybe, and Mayor, it's just a thought bubble rather than anything I'm adhering to, but it may be like the grants committee where councillors, we get together as far as to, with the council grant program to allocate grants, that same, it's, I think, all of council, from memory still, council comes together and say, these are the grants that we want to roll out over the next 12 months. These are the sorts of programs that we're looking for.
So I think that that sort of answers the question. But a lot of it is not just about what grants you apply for, because sometimes you apply for them because they suddenly come up and you want to be able to grab that opportunity. But it's when we actually get that funding, like that Black Summer bushfire funding, there was a whole heap of, it was pretty generic what you could do. It was there was nothing set in concrete. There was lots of activities, but as Councillor Erkin said, we were only found out this when the community found out, whereas the councillor input, it particularly at the local level, they understand their community and what would work in that space. So how do we get, once those grants are, we've actually got that funding, that councillors can then still help to work with the officer to get to roll out the particular event in their community.
Good point. Black Summer, that one, because the council changed some of the programs, which was really good out of the, well, when I say really good, but that was a process out of the report. And I think it's getting together, having that collaborative working model with councillors and staff in that space, the managers, general managers, as far as once the program's in, it's literally, well, to my mind, as I said, I'm just trying to think how best to put it, but just working together, getting people together in a room and saying, okay, this is what we want to deliver, so everyone's on the same page.
I think that going forward, we can use the workshops to do that, to really nut out what needs to happen with that particular funding. Councillor Erkins.
Thank you. Probably because we have got a very diverse area, and what, without being condescending to the arty-farty people. But like sometimes I just see a lot of things come out, and I think they're attractive to a certain section of our community, and then I see another section of our community who are really in need of some type of activity or some type of thing that I'm sure our grants may fit under, but they're being left out. So maybe when we do it, more interaction maybe from councillors, just on an informal base, working with our staff, so that we can bring in to them the concerns about the different people that we have in our communities. Because what suits people in my community and what is going to be attractive to my community is not necessarily what's going to be attractive to people who live in Kingaroy and Wanda. So if we could look so that we're covering more of our community, so more people are able to, we have more programs that are attractive to more diverse range of people.
So, Councillor Augusto, do you think that we can achieve what you are saying through the workshop model? Okay, so happy to take that on board, to look at running workshops around those particular grants.
Sorry, Mayor. The other bit, which came out, and it was a good point you raised with Black Summer, because it was very vague. The discretionary fund model that council has under the legislation, in any which case, and certainly Councillor Erkins, it's just, and this is my nice little head going, some of the feedback that I've received as far as that, I'd call it departmental level, isn't bad, but the discretionary spend for each division out of the Black Summer would have been probably more suited to a legislative framework. This sounds boxy, but to actually funnel it through something like a discretionary fund framework. So it just keeps people, there's a clean, so like the discretionary, and we love a form as much as we love a cup of tea and a meeting, but that framework, so that the councillors are quite actively and heavily involved in it. Actually, when I was talking to a departmental officer, I thought, yeah, okay, if something like that comes up again, you've already got an existing framework, and it's not that, again, we don't want you to talk to staff, but dealing with the manager and the designated point of contact for those. If you actually put it through something like a discretionary fund that gives the councillor way greater involvement in it individually in their division, and also gives it a legislative framework that keeps it on the pure and narrow for the audit and the government.
that could be a good model going forward. Thank you, CEO Mark. So we have now on the table this adoption of the Arts, Culture and Heritage Strategic Plan 2024-29. That's been moved by Councillor Potter, seconded by Linda Little. Ready to go to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Deputy Mayor Potter.
Thank you, Mayor Duff. I'd actually like to move, we're just talking about grants and applying for grants. So you all know that I've sent you all that information with regards to a new grant that's come around. So I would, we've got the wording here, so I would like to move a motion that the South Burnett Regional Council support in principle an application to Telstra's Water Tower mega mural and expressions of interest with the local locations of the water towers or silos. A letter of support be delegated to the CEO or the acting GM of Livability to progress.
So Councillor Potter has moved the recommendation. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Little. So did you want to speak to that recommendation, Deputy Mayor Potter?
Thank you, Mayor Duff. With regards to this one, it only just came to my attention yesterday. I forwarded it through to everyone, and I just think this is a great opportunity that I know it's coming up. The EOI is, sort of very, very short, I'm sorry, but I think that this is a great opportunity for us as a council. It was brought to my attention by Councillor Little that she looked at the Silo Art Trail online and was quite sad that there was nothing within the South Burnett. And it just would be a really good opportunity for us to have those because, and Mergen and Blackbutt, they're sort of at either ends of our area, and we've got these amazing structures of these amazing water towers there, so which we already own. So my thought is that it'd be really good as council if we could do something about that, make them a little bit more exciting for our community.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. So I've also been approached by the Blaze Aid group wanting to consider putting a mural in Mergen around resilience because they saw that grant as an opportunity to showcase what Blaze Aid has been doing in our South Burnett region. So that's good that we've been able to put this on the table, that we certainly are supportive of those kind of applications, but we'll certainly have to be on the ball because it closes 26th of May, so it's not a lot of time. So, Councillor Height.
So just, are you wanting council to apply for this or council write a letter of support?
So basically, for first instance, it's only a letter of support and permission from the council to whoever applies for it. So
who's
it's
applying,
only an
sorry?
expression. Well, that's what we're going to that's what we'll discuss. So my thoughts that it would be, I'm thinking out loud here, and I'm not putting anyone on the spot, but my thoughts would be the Mergen Business Development Association for Mergen.
Right.
And my other thought would be possibly, because we work well with them, is the Blackbutt Banarkan Lions Club. So,
and is it 100% funded?
I have the EOI doesn't sort of say too much about that. So, as I said, I've sent you all a copy of that yesterday. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yes, we're not committing to anything apart from just in principle support. So that if, because I know that the Mergen Business Association had an in principle support from council to put a mural on the water tower. So that's already in train. So it would be nice if they were able to progress something like this. And also, Councillor Little and Blackbutt, I think you've done some work around the water tower or potential murals in Blackbutt. So at this point, it's just an expression like a support, in principle support. So any other questions? All those in favour? Oh, sorry, Councillor Sander.
I just also want to add, if we've just got to be careful of what goes on those towers. If the outline of that expression of interest, it depends what it's for.
100% agreed, because the community can be very concerned about if they don't like something. So we have to really make sure that community consultation is done appropriately and properly. But I think with this, it's just the expression of interest, and then after that, the work will happen with regards to what goes on those towers and what consultation is done. But certainly, good point, Councillor Sander. Are we ready to go to the vote? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So the next item is on page 200, the renewal of licence South Burnett Fun Flyers Incorporated. The officer's recommendation is that South Burnett Regional Council, in accordance with section 2036 1B2 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, renew the deed of licence to occupy with South Burnett Fun Flyers Incorporated for a term of 5 years for lot 354 in Crown Plan FY 2456. And number 2, pursuant to section 2571B of the Local Government Act 2009, South Burnett Regional Council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the deed of licence to occupy with the South Burnett Fun Flyers Incorporated on terms and conditions the Chief Executive Officer reasonably considers are satisfactory to Council. Could I have someone to move that? Yes. Councillor Erkins. Someone to second. Councillor Sander. Speakers to that recommendation. Councillor Erkins.
I'd just like to commend the Fun Flyers group for what a great job they're doing out there. It was an area that was pretty desolate and ugly looking, and they've really done a great job, and recommend it to anyone who wants to go out and have a look at them flying their planes.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Any other speakers? Any other questions? Ready to go to the vote? It's been moved by Councillor Erkins, seconded by Councillor Sander. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. The next item is item 13.3, renewal of lease the Lions Club of Blackbutt Banarkin Incorporated on page 208. So the officer's recommendation is that South Burnett Regional Council, in accordance with section 2361B of the Local Government Regulation 2012, applies to disposal of a valuable non-current asset by way of renewal of a lease for part of lot 87 on SP 102660 Crompton Drive, Blackbutt, to the Lions Club of Blackbutt Banarkin Incorporated for a term of 10 years. Number 2, pursuant to section 2571B of Local Government Act 2009, South Burnett Regional Council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the lease with the Lions Club of Blackbutt Banarkin Incorporated on terms and conditions the Chief Executive Officer reasonably considers are satisfactory to Council. Someone to like to move that? Councillor Little, and seconded by Councillor Deneen. Speakers to the recommendation. Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor Cathy. Yes, I definitely want to recommend this lease to the Council. So not only do the Blackbutt Banarkin Lions use the facility, we also have a weekly prayer group that goes in there, and so they spend every Monday there. Tuesday night we host the social darts, and on a Wednesday we have art classes run out of the facility, and lots of other community groups and organisations as well hold their meetings in there. So it's very well utilised within the town, and I believe that the Lions are doing a really good job at looking after the facility. It's kept clean, tidy. Recently got a grant to have it painted. We've done some remodelling inside that was done with the grant as well, and it's going along beautifully.
Thank you, Councillor Little. Any Councillor Height?
Just a question. I'm fully supportive, sounds great. The lease is for 10 years. Is that normal that we lease something for 10 years? I'm just concerned that stops us doing something if something else came up. It seems quite a long time.
Well, I can answer that. We have just celebrated our 20-year anniversary.
Oh, so you've already had it 20 years.
No, we've had it since 2014. So we've had it for 10 years,
Yep.
and it was normally on a 3x3 lease. But we have asked if we could extend it out for the 10 years. We believe that we will still be helping our community in 10 years' time.
Thank you, Councillor Little. Councillor Hyde.
I'm happy with that. And I mean, should the club fold, presumably there's provisions in the lease that it would come back to council, that I'm hoping it does, and I hope it continues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hyde. Any other councillors like to comment, questions? Ready to go to the vote. It's moved by Councillor Little, seconded by Councillor Janine. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So the next item is item 13.4 on page 213. And this one is a licence to occupy for the Nango History Room Incorporated. That South Burnett Regional Council, in accordance with Section 2361B2 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, enter a non-exclusive deed of licence to occupy for use of the old schoolhouse located on part of Lot 5 on SP 156194 with the Nango History Room Incorporated for a 5-year term. And pursuant to Section 2571B of the Local Government Act 2009, South Burnett Regional Council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the deed of licence to occupy with the Nango History Room Incorporated on terms and conditions the Chief Executive Officer reasonably considers are satisfactory to Council. Someone to move that? Councillor Erkins. Someone to second? Councillor Potter. Speakers, Councillor Erkins.
Could I just have clarification? What does the non-exclusive use mean?
CEO Mark. Oh, okay, sorry, I'll go to Acting GM Leanne.
Yeah. Through you, Madam Mayor, the non-exclusive use allows for council to utilise the facility if need be. It just means that if there was an event that needs to be hosted in that building to complement the actual activities of Ringsfield House, then we would be in a position to discuss that with the tenant, and that just gives us provision in there. They've just got non-exclusive use, so it's not just entirely for themselves. It's that we can negotiate and talk to them about working in with other arrangements if need be.
I'm a little concerned about that, mainly because I do know that they do work in anyway. I know there's been a number of events there. I know as community people they do a great deal for the town and for up at Ringsfield. You know, they're very keen to be involved in doing other things up there. And I just think, you know, for us to be saying to them, I mean, it's like me renting a house and you saying as a landlord, well, when I come up on weekends, I want to be able to stay there. You know, I don't think that is very fair. I think they should have exclusive use of it, because I do believe that there would be no issues at all with that group. If there was something on, that they would be more than happy to work in. I mean, they've worked in the past. It's not like they have shown any reluctance or any, what's the name? So, you know, I don't know. I would like that changed.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Could I have a comment from Acting GM Leanne?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. The reason that it's in there is to ensure that arrangement and that relationship continues. So if, you know, in the future over the 5-year term, if something was to happen, you want to have a provision in there to continue to encourage that use or non-exclusive use, to continue to work with us and share the facility. I think in a deed of licence to occupy, you cannot actually have exclusive use, so it's also a legal arrangement as well. And they can't have a lease agreement there. They have to have a deed of licence to occupy, because it's for a small component of the entire site. So it's actually a legal requirement with a deed to occupy, but the intent is just to keep that arrangement going, because we certainly want them to work in with other community groups and with ourselves.
Yeah, I still have, I'll support it, but I still have concerns. And I know the people, you know, running that, I mean, they have been there for, their family have been in the Nanango community for hundreds of years working to our community. And I just feel it's a little off-putting. I just don't, you know, I don't think it's right. But I'm happy to, if that's the way we have to go, that's why we have to go.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Potter.
Just curious, through you, Mayor Duff, I'm just wondering to Acting GM Peterson, whether we've been working with them in this same way since they first started. I know we talked about leasing this. I actually thought we had the lease sorted, but anyway, we're getting it sorted now. But is this the way we've been working with them in the past anyway, or and have they agreed to this?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, that's correct. The intent is for them to be in this arrangement. They've been working like this for a number of years. This is just to formalise the arrangement that we've got in place. They have been working out of this building for some time, and it's worked quite well. So, yeah, let's continue the process, and this provides some security for them as well once they enter into the deed of licence.
So, thank you, Councillor Ergens.
So one of the things that has happened is council did take people through their building. They did not know about it. They also have all our history records of the Nanango area, which are very precious to them and to our community. Council took somebody through there with a view to holding an art class in their building, which I don't think is very complimentary to the history room. And as it turned out, we actually found that person somewhere better for them. But, you know, like, I just, you know, do they have a right then, if you bring, like, surely they should be told if someone's going through the building, not somebody just go through it. Does that actually mean that council can go through at any time? Because, I mean, they do tell me we turned our lights off when we got in, the lights have been on, someone's been in our building. They do suspect that people go in there quite regularly.
So, so we don't want to get this off on a bad footing. If there's a concern about it, is there just a question to GM Leanne? Is there another deed of license that doesn't have that, or is this? You said it's a legislative requirement. Is that just goes with this one, or are there other community groups where you don't have that particular type of license?
Through you, Madam Mayor, so all of our deed of licence for sporting clubs would be non-exclusive use. The intent is that there are public places and for the community to have access to the public places and utilisation and access to public place. So the Ringsfield House is treated the same way. Most definitely, if we were going to want access into the building, we would be always ringing the Nanango History Room Committee and talking to them and lining up that time. So
I appreciate what you're saying, but that is not, in reality, that is not what has happened. They have been, they might not go in as often as they're telling me, but I know someone told me they had been through there with council staff, and I know the history room were not aware. So maybe somewhere in that can be that if that it has to be in discussions and agreement with the history room. They're very, I don't think that they would ever refuse something to go there, but I do think that they should be the ones that have the option. I would not like, council staff to be saying to them, oh no, you have to have this happen, because as I said, they do have a lot of, pretty valuable to our community stuff in there, and I think they should have a say on who does have access to that. And I think if council staff are going in, I think they should be given notice that someone's going in there.
So thank you, Councillor. Okay, so is it possible, as part of the conditions of the lease, that we could have a dot point that the history room gets notification if there is going to be anybody apart from their committee occupying that space? Could that be a condition of the lease?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was just going to quickly check the term of the licence and just check that that's included in there. Just one moment, thank you. I'll just have a look. I just can't read it in there, but yes, I'm certainly happy to make a note that it would be normally our process, but happy to make a note for that to be included into the schedule of the deed of licence for for council to contact the history committee prior to gaining access to the building. We normally do that even with our contractors because we check the fire extinguishers and the fire exit lighting. So that is part of our responsibility, is to notify any tenant before we enter a building. So happy to make sure that note is included in the schedule of their licence.
So CEO Mark said we can make it an extra dot point if you want that, to have that as a in the dot point here to say that one of the conditions of the lease. So would you like to just word that, please, CEO Mark?
I've got it noted so that access to be in discussion with the history room, and do not access without a notice period and to be included in the schedule.
Yeah, I'm happy for that to happen.
So are we adding that to the actual recommendation here?
No, I'm happy that that will happen. I'm happy to leave that to the wording and to how to go in. So I'm happy that council understands my concerns and so I'm happy for that to be done.
So it'll just be added into the schedule as one of the conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those ready to vote? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. The next item is on page 219. It is the item 13.5, provision of pool pods to Kingaroy and Wandai pools. The officer's recommendation is that South Burnett Regional Council resolve to proceed with the purchase of 2 pool pods without inviting tenders at a cost of $107,874.07 per unit under Section 235A of the Local Government Regulation 2012. So someone move that, Councillor Potter, someone to second that. So Councillor Hyde has seconded the officer's recommendation. So would like to speak, Councillor Potter.
Yep. Thank you. Having discussions yesterday with the South Burnett Spinal Group, they're actually looking forward to having these be put in our pools, because now some of them have said that they might actually go to our pools and start using them, because at the moment at the facilities, the hoists or whatever they're called that we have there now, they will not use them because they feel they're undignified. Whereas this new way of hoist, they can actually we can put them in the wheelchair in the room, wheel the chair down, and they can get into the pool and they can release them and float. So this is just a nicer way, a way we can help our community. We don't, we've, in all honesty, we probably don't do a lot for our disability people, especially the people with spinal injuries and people in wheelchairs within the South Burnett. And I just feel that this is one way we can help them. At least they can have comfort and support going to a pool with dignity.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Potter. Speakers, any other speakers? Councillor Hyde.
Yes, I have to say I'm not supportive of this proposed purchase of 2 pool pods for the following reasons. Firstly, Wandai and Kingaroy pools are only open for 6 months, so it's a limited period of time. Wandai, Mergen, Kingaroy and Nanango pools all have an operational hydraulic chair hoist that is available for pool users and complies with the Disability Discrimination Act, access to premises under the building code. The pool managers have said that a handful of people use the hoists, and I've seen wheelchair people access the hoist in Wandai pool very effectively, and it works well. The pool managers have suggested that 1 or 2 more might use the pool if there was a pool pod, but they don't have definite numbers. And you talk about dignity, and I must admit, as a lady of a certain age, there's not a lot of us that want to be seen in public in our swimming togs, so I think that does probably limit a lot of people accessing the pools. Mergen pool isn't included in the report, but I'm sure if Wandai and Mergen got a pod, they would want one too, so that would be another 100 and something thousand. The report says there are 4 currently in Queensland, but from reading it, it appears to me that this equipment is very expensive and may be suitable for a private pool, but I'm concerned that this very expensive bit of machinery will be climbed on and potentially damaged by children in our public pools. And I understand it can be wheeled away, but the pool managers are busy, and because they've been imported from Scotland, any damage is likely to be extremely expensive to repair. We have to remember that our pools are currently costing our ratepayers over $1 million every single year. And sadly, not many people use our great pools. We have an obligation to run pools, and I'm fully supportive of that $1 million because we have an obligation for children to have the opportunity to swim and a facility for our many residents to use the facilities. But I'm not keen on imposing more costs on the ratepayers for a fairly small number. I agree we all absolutely want our residents to be able to access our pools, so I'm certainly keen to look at other options. Firstly, of course, we have a great hydrotherapy pool in Nanango, which is heated and has a ramp. And having swum recently in many Brisbane pools, the number of people in our pools is incredibly low and very manageable, so it's certainly easy to get into those pools. Secondly, perhaps we can look at our hoists and use a larger chair if necessary. That might be an option. But thirdly, there is a plan for a major upgrade of Kingaroy Pool, which will have a warm water pool. And if we're successful with a grant, then that indoor pool would have a ramp. So then we would have 2 pools in the region with a ramp. And I'm certainly supportive of not going ahead with this, but reserving those funds, restricting them, and then if at some stage in the future, which don't know when it will happen, but it will happen eventually, that money is put towards that pool, so there isn't access for a second warm water pool with a ramp to ensure that our residents can do that. And if we did go ahead with this, then that pool becomes redundant. So yes, I'm certainly not supportive. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hyde. Any other speakers? Councillor Erkins.
While I definitely understand the difficulties of getting in and out of a pool, as I said before, and I understand some of the points of driving to Nanango to the pool there, but as I have said many times, if you live in Nanango, you have to drive to Kingaroy to access many services, regardless of your age or your abilities. With that sort of money, we could just about buy a bus that would take people backwards and forwards, people from Kingaroy to the pool and people from Nanango to the dentist, optometrist, shopping, whatever. So, I mean, you know, again, I agree completely with what Councillor Hyde has said, and I understand exactly what Councillor Potter is saying, but that is a lot of money when we do have a facility for people to use. It'd be different if we didn't have anything. And when you're talking about putting something like that in for Kingaroy, realistically, Nanango, if the hydrotherapy pool is too small, Nanango is the only pool that is undercover and open all year round. So if you were going to put one in, you would probably look at putting it in the big pool in Nanango and be able to be used all throughout the year. But I just think that, we're talking about not putting in all these bright and shiny things, and I think that is not just that it's bright and shiny, but I think it would be a lot of money for a small portion who can be serviced in Nanango. And I look at how many people in Nanango, there's not just a handful that have to come to Kingaroy every day for things, there's a lot. So I just can't support it.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Deputy Mayor Potter.
Thank you. I'm extremely supportive of this, as I said earlier, because we've got a group of people within our community that are unable to access the pool at the moment. They are, and a lot of the ones I've spoken to are unable to drive to Nanango to use the pool because the amount of time spent in the car on the road is just not doable for them. They need to be able to do something in the local community. Now, I do believe that if something ever happened with the Kingaroy pool, that these pods can actually be moved and moved to another place. So that in itself, to me, I think is amazing. So then if we did want to move the pod to Nanango or Mergen or something like that, that just gives it that little bit of extra, for me, that's a win-win situation for all. So to have some of our community members able to use a pool that are unable to use one now, to give them the dignity. I know you mentioned dignity before, but you know, some of them have such debilitating issues that, you know, it may take 2 or 3 carers to help them. That, to me, this is something that we need to do to support these people. We don't do much else as a council for them. This is something, and at least this is a start for them.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Councillor Sander.
I notice in their officer's recommendation that they recommend to purchase the pool pods without inviting tenders. Is there any way that we can look at laying this on the table and get other, put it out to tender to see the value of other types?
Oh, I was going to just, if I may, and I'll yield to greater knowledge, but I think they're the only supplier, so it's the provision. So you could put out to tender, but you wouldn't be able to buy the same product, just as a technical answer.
So it is an option to lay it on the table and look at it further down the track when, you know, like these are brand new. There's only, I think it's a 4 in Queensland. So it's probably, we got this report on Friday. We've only just seen the figures last night. Perhaps it's an option to just consider it further along, but just putting it out there. But at this point, we're just still on the debate of the particular motion that's on the table. Any other speakers? Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor Kathy. I just have a question for Acting GM Leanne. With the upgrade of the Kingaroy pool, will their operating hours be extended once the pool is upgraded?
Through you, Madam Mayor, if we were successful and built an indoor warm water facility, that facility would be open all year round. So the hours of operation would be longer, it would be a full year, and most definitely they would be open all day in a warm water facility, an indoor pool. So yes, the South Burnett would receive a pool with extended hours of operation.
Councillor Erkins.
When we talk about extended hours of operation, but the Nanango pool, which is able to be used all day, the hours of the Nanango pool it's not open all day. So if we needed to be open longer, that, you know, because it's too crowded, there are options for people for that to be open extended hours during that. I think it closes during the lunch period. But if we were to have that extra facility in Kingaroy, it will have a ramp into it. The you know, if they do the Kingaroy.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Councillor Deneen.
Question to Acting General Manager Leanne. Do we have a time frame for the renos for the pool here? What sort of time are we looking?
Unfortunately, we don't, because we're still waiting on confirmation from the grant to see whether or not we're successful or not. So we won't hear back from that until later this year. So yes, we're still waiting. And just keeping in mind that is a design and construct project. So we get to actually do the full design, documentation, construction drawings. So that's probably going to at least take 12 months to prepare those documents. And then it will be a build after that if we're successful with the grant.
Thank you.
So any other discussion, questions? So Deputy Mayor Potter, did you want to have your right of reply? No, thank you. Okay, so So we've got a motion on the books, moved by Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Height. The South Bend Regional Council resolved to proceed with the purchase of 2 pool pods without inviting tenders at a cost of $107,874.07 per unit under Section 235A of the Local Government Regulation 2012. So I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? So that motion has been defeated, 6 votes to 1. So thank you, everyone, for the discussion. And certainly moving forward, it's something, Councillor Potter, that we can look at further down the track, I think.
Madam Mayor, just, and I'm not sure if Councillor Hyde had a resolution, but that's in part of the capital program. So to reserve, yeah, I'm just thinking if we're reserving that $200,000 out of the capital program, because otherwise that will also sit there and then not be spent between now and that affects the percentages, and so that we just put it to the reserves for the Kingaroy Pool project. Was that where you were going? That it'd be that the capital allocation of $200,000 be that the capital Susan, the capital budget be amended and the $200,000 be put to reserve. Yeah, for the whichever the I was just looking at it. Yeah, be reserved. Yeah, old language. Be restricted. It was always good when we had reserves. You knew exactly where you were. Be restricted for future capital for pool programs. Yep. We can tidy it up and bring it back as if we need to, Susan, in next month's finance report. Yep. There was 200,000. There was 100,000 for each pool. So yeah. No, you had the 7 was coming out of the restricted cash. Yeah. So there's a capital allocation sitting there, 200,000. So it'd be just nice to tidy that up and park it. Yeah. Thank you.
So it's been moved by Councillor Hyde that the capital budget of 200,000 be restricted for future capital pool projects. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Little. Speakers, did you want to speak? Councillor Height. We have got Deputy Mayor Potter.
Look, I'd be supportive of this if it actually said, I'd be more supportive of this if it actually mentioned disability access, to be quite honest, because to me, we've got some money there, we were going to do this so people with disabilities could actually get in the pool with dignity. And for me, this just says it's being put aside for pool projects. No mention at all about disability access for people. So I'd really love it if we as a council could support them at least here.
So just ask Councillor Erkins, you've got your light on.
I would much rather see, that's $200,000, I would much rather see that $200,000 be sitting there to help put in a liner in our pool, which is just leaking. We need the money to be able to get the pool going. If we don't do something about that, we can have a great pod sitting on the side of the pool and no water in the pool. I mean, the bottom line is, I've been told that the pool is leaking and leaking and leaking. It desperately needs a liner. Let's put that money towards a liner or towards something that is more needed for the whole of the community. Well, future pool. I'm happy for that.
Thank you, Councillor Erkins. Are there any other? Councillor Sander.
If you, through you, Madam Mayor, you were saying that you were waiting on grant application. So why you wouldn't purchase a liner for the pool if you're going to know you're going to get that grant application like in the next couple of months?
No, but we'll need to we won't get enough grant money to put the liner in. We will have to put money into it. So I'm not saying that that's got to go to the grant liner, but to the liner, but I'm saying let's put it to something like putting the liner in, because that has got to happen. We're losing water that we can't afford and doing damage to the ground for the fact that there's so much water leaking out. We won't get enough money. We don't have enough money to put that liner in, and I don't think we'll get enough grant money to put it in. So let's leave that there. So if we need it, we've got it to put the liner in. Yeah, I'm happy with that motion.
So thank you, Councillor Erkins. Are there any other questions, comments on that particular motion? If not, so Councillor Hyde has moved and Councillor Little has seconded that the 23-24 capital budget of $200,000 be restricted for future capital pool projects. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So the next item is expansion of Tabinga Cemetery, 13.6 on page 243. So the officer's recommendation is that South Bennett Regional Council endorse closing of the perimeter road around the cemetery and engage with the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, DAF, Kingaroy and adjoining owners regarding expansion options for the Tabinga Cemetery to ensure continuity of use. Someone to move that one. Councillor Height, seconded by Councillor Sander. Discussion. So anyone want to talk to this particular recommendation? Councillor Height.
I was just going to ask a question. You're talking about a land swap. Are we estimating that that's not going to cost anything, that we can just swap this bit of land for that bit of land, or no such luck, eh?
So I hand over to Acting GM Leanne.
Through you, Madam Mayor. No, we won't be able to say what sort of costs are involved. What we're asking Council is we start the process to close the road around the perimeter of the cemetery. We already have infrastructure like a shed, a very large shed on the actual road, so we need to tidy that up, and then we need to commence the conversations with the Department of Fisheries and maybe adjoining landowners and look at the options. It's all around also doing some soil testing and drainage works to see what our soil type is like out there in some of these areas and where it is most suitable for the lawn cemetery to expand. So there's a little bit of work that we need to do in those investigations and start those conversations with the relevant parties.
So through you, Councillor, the current area which is leased to DAF, do they pay a lease on that?
No, they don't.
Okay. Right.
So Councillor Hyde, you
Oh, well, I'm just asking.
asked the question, you
We're
happy with the
leasing
answer?
land
Yep.
to them and then for free. So, yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think historically what it was is that the department were actually doing us a favour in maintaining the land, and by doing that they were cropping it and yes, generating some income from the crops. Maybe most likely it's a research plot, so not really income for the DPI, but certainly from our perspectives, there's been no cost associated with that land there in terms of their been maintaining it and keeping it weed free, fuel load free, and it's all neat and tidy for us to continue on with. But yeah, as I said, we've got a little bit of work to do. As you can see in that aerial photograph there is quite a large drain through the middle of that area. So we need to work through and just actually see if it's suitable for lawn cemetery expansion across that entire area. It might be that only part of that area is actually suitable for lawn cemetery expansion, so we may not actually need all of that land. So there'll be further discussions with the DPI about whether or not some of that land is actually swapped with them. But to the east of the land, of our land, there's area there that would be more suitable for a lawn cemetery. So they're the sorts of things we're looking at, but we just need to start the investigations, and that's what this report's about.
Thank you, Acting GM Leanne. So is there any more discussion, questions around this particular motion. So it's been moved by Councillor Height and seconded by Councillor Sander. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. So now we're moving on to item 14.1 on page 256. And that one is questions on notice in infrastructure. And I believe that Deputy Mayor Potter put forward some questions. Councillor Potter requested an update on the SES grant application. Can you please clarify why the Mergan Gator Road has been referred to RMPC and not TMR? And can you please provide some feedback to give a concerned resident regarding the Kingaroy Roads and Weeks Road corner? So those three questions were answered in a response here. Councillor Potter, are you happy with the responses that you have received? Oh, sorry, no, the first one was, sorry, question on notice was from Councillor Potter was the request an update on the SES grant application. So that was State Emergency Services Support Grant for Vehicle Replacement, was submitted by Council in November 2023. Outcome of submission is still pending. So that's the answer. Apologies, I just jumped ahead there, sorry.
That's all right, and I did question 3 as well.
Question 3, please provide some feedback to give a concerned resident regarding the Kingaroy Road and Weeks Road corner. Are you happy with that response there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
So then the next one, the other two, well, question 2 was from Mayor, myself and Councillor Sander. Can you please clarify why the Mergan Gander Road has been referred to RMPC and not TMR? And this was in relation to shoulder repair works next to a private entrance, which is a maintenance task, and why it was referred to RMPC. These repair works were completed on the 6th of March 2024. So, Councillor Sander, are you happy with that response?
Yes, Mayor Duff.
And so thank you for that response, GM Meehan. So the motion is that recommendation is that the response to the questions on notice be received and noted. So someone to move that. Councillor Sander, someone to second that. Councillor Height. We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So that's the information section is nil. Oh, Councillor Potter, you have your light on.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Duff. I'd actually, as a follow-on to that, I'd actually like to move a motion, please.
Thank you. Please proceed.
So I've sent the motion through earlier. So my motion is that council write to Main Roads and put forward community concerns and also ask for a safety assessment on the Weeks Road and Kingaroy Road intersection.
So that's been moved by Councillor Potter. Someone to second that? Councillor Deneen, did you want to speak to that motion, please, Councillor Potter?
Yeah, thank you. Look, this has been going on basically ever since I first got into council, when the residents first contacted me with regards to the intersection. There have been so many close calls on that intersection. It does have a curve there, and if you're turning right to go into Weeks Road off the main road and you've got a truck rearing up your backside, it's actually going to be a very dangerous situation. I know there's been no accidents reported there by the police, but there have been so many near misses and mirrors missing now of vehicles purely because of that intersection. You cannot go around the vehicle that's turning because there is no room there, because there's a gully, there is signage, but there is room there if there was going to be a turning lane put in, which is basically what it needs, exactly what they've done along the highway between Kingaroy and Nanango to a lot of the intersections there. It needs to be safe for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Potter. So that one could also seek the guidance of GM Meehan, but that would go to the Traffic Advisory Committee because they have representatives of Main Roads Police and Council on that particular committee. But I'll ask GM Meehan to comment.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, we would write directly to the District Director for this one and just seek his support to undertake that, and we'd also facilitate it through the TAs to the TAC with those contacts as well.
Thank you, GM Meehan. Any other questions? Everyone happy to vote? So the council write to Main Roads to put forward community concerns and also ask for a safety assessment of the Weeks Road and Kingaroy Road intersection, moved by Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Deneen. All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. So now we're moving on to the confidential section. So I'll ask for the members of the gallery, thank you for your attendance, to leave, and then so could I have someone move that we move into closed? Deputy Mayor Potter, seconded Councillor Sander. All those in favour? Against? Carried. a petition relating to a music camp out event be received and referred to the Chief Executive Officer to determine the appropriate action and a report be brought back to Council. Someone to move that. Councillor Deneen, seconded Councillor Height. All those in favour? Oh, sorry. That was Councillor... Councillor Deneen and Councillor Height seconded. So all those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. The next one is the South Bennett Community Hospital Foundation Limited Board meeting held on the 23rd of November 2023 will be received for information. Someone to move that. Councillor Little, seconded by Councillor Height. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. The next one is the financial hardship rates application assessment number 424503400000 on, and that one is that taken as read. Someone to move that. Councillor Erkins, someone to second that. Councillor Height. Any discussion? All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. And the next one is item 16.4, sale of land for overdue rates and charges report, May 2024. And that one there is on page 19. So someone like to move that report be received. Councillor Erkins, seconded Councillor Little. Any discussion? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So the final one is the item 16.5 RSPCA contract extension animal management review. So the officer's recommendation is that South Bennett Regional Council provide an extension of the existing contract provision and operation of South Bennett Animal, Cats and Dogs Housing Facility agreement with the RSPCA offer the RSPCA a 12-month extension on the current contract. And then there's a whole heap of conditions there that as presented. So the top one, we're splitting these into two. So item 1 is as per the RSPCA agreed amount of using the year 5 3.4% CPI increase with no additional costs or increases. And number 2, from the 5th year amount of $527,155 with CPI for 24-25 equates to $545,078.27. So does someone want to move that? Moved by Councillor Erkins, seconded by Councillor Deneen. Any discussion? So if not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those in favour, I'll just get the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've got in favour is Councillor Deneen, Councillor Erkins, Councillor Little and Councillor Potter. All those against? Councillor Sander, Councillor Height and Councillor Mayor Duff. So that one is carried. 4 votes to 3. So now we're moving on to the Council undertake a full review of the animal management services provided in the South Bennett Regional Council area, review the existing contract and lease arrangement in place with the RSPCA. So there's a costings on variations and other options for council, options to include reduction of animal management services, pound only, share arrangements at the current facility with an animal welfare organisation, financial reviews of options including council operating all impounding activities in the region, and then transferring animals that are able to be rehomed to a welfare organisation, transfer impounded animals to other local governments to look after during the impoundment timeframe of 3 to 5 days, noting that it is a requirement that the local government provide access to the animal as per the local law and legislation, and tender process if the impounding and rehoming of animals is outsourced, and report to be presented to the September Ordinary Council meeting. So someone to move that. Moved by Councillor Erkins, seconded by Councillor Sander. Any discussion? All those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. The meeting is closed. Thank you everyone for your attendance.